Welcome to This Week in James City County. I'm your host, Renee Dahlman. Today's episode is for the week of March 2nd. The Planning Commission meets on Wednesday, March 3rd at 6 p.m. The meeting will be held in the Building F Boardroom at 101 Mounts Bay Road. You can find the agenda online at jamescitycountyva.gov/129. Jamestown Beach Event Park will open early March 3rd, so you can have a great view of the upcoming total lunar eclipse. The eclipse begins very early at 4:50 a.m. and wraps up at 6:35 a.m. With the moon setting due west, Jamestown Beach Event Park should give great views of this interstellar event. There is no registration required, and it is free. However, it is going to be held weather permitting. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Brad Rinehimer, Assistant County Administrator, for an update on the new Government Center. Let's check it out. Hey, Brad, thank you so much for taking a moment out of your very busy day to stop and talk with us.
Of course, Renee. It's always a pleasure to come speak with you.
I know you've got a lot going on with the new building. You speak to the board once a month, right, about the status of the new building?
Typically, yes. At every work session, it's a standing agenda item that I give the board an update on the Government Center.
Excellent. The unfortunate thing is that it's been a while since you've been on the podcast. So we kind of need to do a little bit of a catch up. And then here going forward, then it can be kind of you can talk with us a little bit more about what you talked to the board about.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so catch us up to speed. It is now March. How did that happen? I have no idea. March 2026, where are we with the new Government Center?
Yeah, so I guess when we spoke last, it was in the summer, last summer.
That sounds right.
We certainly have come a long way since then. If you drive by the site, you'll notice that the site's been cleared. They've done a lot of excavation work. They put in the stormwater retention pond. They are down to grade as far as the underground parking deck goes. And in the next week or two, they should be starting the deep foundations, the rigid inclusions. So hopefully you'll see stuff coming up vertically later this spring, early summertime.
Now I have to ask you, did you ever guess back in the days when you were a police officer that you would ever be throwing around words like rigid inclusions?
Absolutely not. In fact, I had to look that up when they were talking about it. This process certainly it's been a long process. Mr. Stevens sort of gave me this project back at the end of 2022, which was a long time ago.
It was.
It was a lot of work, a lot of collaboration with the builder group and our internal working group to make it happen. But I've certainly learned a lot over these past few years, but it's been a rewarding experience. And it's really exciting to see the actual work starting. For years, it was just everything was on paper. Now to see the heavy equipment out there and the trailers, the construction trailers, and work getting done, it is an exciting time for sure.
Things are moving along.
Absolutely. Yeah, the weather's been a bit of a challenge, right? Over the past few weeks, this has been a different kind of winter.
Because apparently we get snow now here in Williamsburg.
A lot of snow and a lot of cold and a lot of ice. And so that's sort of slowed things down a little bit. Hopeful that the weather is now going to be more moderate and they can really get to work out there. There's been a lot of deliveries, a lot of the stormwater piping and some of the systems have been delivered on site. Looking for the steel. The steel's arrived not on site, but at a local location where they're storing it until they need it. But you should start to see some of that coming in soon.
Okay. So I know that in the past there's been a website that people can go to stay up to date on what's going on with that building. Does that website still exist?
Sure, absolutely. Folks can still go to the website and find out what's going on. They can go back and look at a lot of the previous meetings. Just about everything dealing with the Government Center that's been talked about publicly is on that site.
Okay.
So people can go and see what they want to see, read what they want to read, watch what they want to watch. It's all on there, but they can also always, and I put this out at every meeting I do, I'd love to talk about to anybody who has questions. I just want people to have accurate information and facts about the Government Center and not necessarily everything you might see or hear on social media or from a neighbor. So if they have questions, they can always reach out to me. I'm happy to sit down and talk about it.
All right. So tell us, Brad, exactly where are we in the process?
Sure. So the board has approved the first phase of the comprehensive agreement, which, if you've been following along, it was to spend up to $46 million, and that was for the pre-ordering of the steel and a lot of the work that's being done on site now. They'd previously approved the early site work package. We held the groundbreaking in November, and it wasn't long after till they actually went out and started breaking ground and clearing the site. Then it goes through the construction document phase, and some people care about this, some people don't. You go through the schematic design, which is just kind of a conceptual view of things. Then you get into the design documents, which is a little more detailed. Once you complete those, then you move on to construction documents. And those are the actual documents that the folks use to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they look at. So we're complete with 50% construction documents. The counties reviewed those, and we had a lot of back and forth with the builder group on it. A lot of things that we missed earlier, or they missed, small things, not huge things, but just trying to make sure we get things as close to right as we can before they actually start building vertically on this project. So that 50% construction document phase is completed. They're just about done with the 100% construction documents. We hope to have that completed in the next couple of weeks. Then it'll come back to the county for review. We'll spend some time. It's a lot to go through. The 50% CDs, there was 377 pages of documents, and a lot of it's very technical. Our general services folks, the outside consultant we brought on, the construction management firm to help us with it, they'll go through all those documents. We'll go through all those documents. And once that 100% construction document is completed, then they can give us a guaranteed maximum price. We've been all along working under the assumption that we were going to build this building not to exceed a certain dollar amount. That was that $179 million that people probably heard and seen. But this will actually give them the opportunity to give us a guaranteed maximum price based on exactly what we're saying we want in this new facility.
Now, I know something that has changed, I believe, since the last time we've spoken, and I know it's been in the media and everything, but the library is now going to come along as part of this building construction, correct?
Sure. Yes. The library, and early on in the process, we were looking at the potential for putting school administration in that building. School population projections have changed over the last couple of years. They don't feel they have that need to expand James Blair, which would force school administration out of that site. So kind of dropped off school administration being on that site. And then the conversation came up, well, is there something else we can put there that might make sense? And the idea of the library came up. The library has been asking for another branch for probably 15 years, a standalone third branch. We talked about it over the years, possible locations. And I honestly, I don't even remember who mentioned it for this site, but somebody said, what about at the government center site where the school admin wing was going to be? And sounded like a good idea. So Mr. Stevens and I met with the library board, had those discussions, talked to them a little bit about it. What they were asking for was a 50,000 square foot library branch standalone, but by joining it with the government center, we're able to achieve a lot of efficiencies with space, cafeteria, restrooms, all the things that you might need separately in a standalone building. We can combine into this and really shrink down the size that they need, but still give them everything that they need. Conference rooms, we have a lot of conference rooms on that side of the building they can utilize. The boardroom is a large space that they can utilize when they bring in speakers and things like that. So that 50,000 square foot ask, we were able to reduce down to around 25,000 square feet and still give them just about everything else that they were asking for. And obviously a 25,000 square foot library addition is about half the price of a 50,000 square foot standalone building. So it seemed like a win-win there. The library gets the additional square footage that they would really like to have, and we were able to do it on a smaller scale.
Now, I've heard comments about, well, the Scotland Street Library is so close. Why do we need to build another one right here? So then there's going to be 3 identical library branches in the county and in the city.
So the library system has decided that they're going to have a certain theme, I guess, is the term I'd use
Hmm.
for each of the libraries. So the Croker Library, which is what it's become known as,
Yes.
is more the children's play type library. There's a lot of things up there for the kids. The City Library is more of the cultural and arts center, and they intend on this new branch at the Government Center being more of a technology type of library where they show off things like 3D printers and other things like that and maker spaces. And so that's kind of their plan for it.
Hmm.
The proximity, it is closer, sure. Separating them out throughout the county, I think this gives us a good balance.
Hmm.
Having one in the city itself, one near the rec center there at the Government Center, I think will serve a lot of our residents. A lot of folks from some of those larger communities that typically drive now into the city library would be able to use the one there at the rec center. And of course, the Croker Library serves the upper end of the county. And I've recently been appointed to the library board, so I'm on that board now. And one of the things we're looking at is naming those three libraries. Typically it was the James City County Library,
Right.
the Williamsburg Library. That's kind of how they were known. Obviously, adding this third branch creates some challenges.
Right.
So the library board has formed a naming committee
Okay.
to actually start talking about what we want to name the three branches.
Okay.
People are confused about it. People hear that Williamsburg's building a new library,
Right.
and that James City. Why are we building two new libraries?
Right.
Or which one is it? Or just some confusion
Sure.
about it's a Williamsburg Regional Library System. Williamsburg and James City County are the primary partners in that organization, but York County is also a part of that library system at a slightly reduced level, but they're still a part of that system. And people just like the people that live in James City County that think they live in Williamsburg.
Right. Right.
It's challenging for folks, especially folks that haven't been here very long, which, as you know, is a good portion of our population.
Well, I know something else that has caused some folks some heartburn over the last year or two is the whole part of the roads surrounding this new building. And particularly the word that people do not like to hear is roundabouts. So, can you give me an update on what the status is of that?
Sure. We've done traffic studies on the potential development there with the Government Center and what was originally school administration. And we hire outside consultants to come in, do a traffic study, project out traffic flows and vehicle counts, and then they make those recommendations to us. We review them with our engineers and with VDOT. With just school admin potentially being there were some minor road improvements, some turn lanes that were going to have to be added, but that was about all that was going to be required.
Sure.
Adding the library changes that traffic count. So with the addition of the library, the recommendation then came for those roundabouts,
Okay.
traffic circles, both at the intersection of Ashbury and Depew and the intersection of Depew and Long Hill. Some of your listeners know this. Those that don't, there's also talk of potential development on the Eastern State property.
That was my next thing I was going to bring in. So, great job.
Sure. The Cardinal Ridge development is something that's been proposed. It hasn't gone to the board yet, but that addition would certainly add additional traffic there. And one of the things we did in our design of the roundabouts was making sure that the developers of Cardinal Ridge wouldn't have to tear up what we just put in to do their improvements.
Sure.
So our engineers have taken on the task of designing the improvements that we need, and they would remain even if additional improvements had to be made if development for Cardinal Ridge gets approved. Again, it hasn't gone before the board yet. The Planning Commission has recommended approval, but it hasn't come before the board yet.
Okay.
So if that additional development is approved, there will be additional road improvements that have to be made. For instance, widening Depew to a 4-lane road for the entire length of it, and increasing the size of the roundabouts.
Okay. All right. So stay tuned
Stay
for
tuned.
more information on that.
And again, that's a board of supervisors decision that they'll be making here I would assume in the next few months.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else that we need to know to be caught up on where we are in the Government Center?
No, again, I would just say if you have questions or concerns, please reach out. You can
What's your
always
phone
call
number?
me. My office number directly to my office is 757-253-6616. My email is brad.rinehimer@jamescitycountyva.gov. But again, I want people to ask questions. I want people to get facts and information and then make their own decisions. We certainly may not agree on whether we think it's needed or some parts of it are needed or not. But I just want people to have the factual information.
All right, Brad, what is that website address again that people can go to?
Sure. Anybody can go to www.jamescitycountyva.gov and then click on administration, and there's a whole section devoted to the government center. Like I said, there's a ton of links on there linking you to board meetings. A lot of information there. If people want to research, that's the place to go.
Okay, great. Flyover videos, everything you would ever want to know.
Absolutely. It's all there.
All right. Well, Brad, thank you so much for taking time again out of your busy schedule to come in and join us.
I'm very happy to do it. Thank you, Renee, for having me.
Thank you for tuning in. As always, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Please be sure to like and subscribe. You can also find us at jamescitycountyva.gov/podcast. And while there, you can send us comments, critiques, and show ideas. We would love to hear from you. So once again, thank you so much, and we will talk with you next week.